Hi and welcome again. We're here with Laura Zabel, the Executive Director for Springboard for the Arts. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Well, first of all, tell us about what Springboard for the Arts is, what your mission is, and who you serve.
Springboard, at its core, is an economic development organization for individual artists. Our mission is to help individual artists make a living and a life, and by doing that, to support a vibrant arts community in the upper Midwest. So we serve, our primary audience is individual artists and small organizations that are started or run by artists. And we serve Minnesota, Wisconsin, both Dakotas, and Iowa with a variety of different career development and business planning and business tools kinds of programs.
And your definition for artists is somewhat broad.
Yeah, we have a big tent when it comes to what that means. It's artists of all disciplines at all stages in their careers, so writers, dancers, musicians, actors, other performing artists, certainly visual artists, and it's completely self-defined. So if you consider yourself an artist, then Springboard services are available to you.
And I was surprised at the number and diversity of services that you've been offering to artists.
Yeah, Springboard's been around for a long time in some form. We started as a program of United Arts, which is another arts organization, about 30 years ago, and then have progressed to being our own sort of freestanding nonprofit about 15 years ago. So over that time, we've developed a number of different services and ways at sort of getting at those business skills for individual artists.
And tell me more about the types of particular artist support services that you offer. I think you mentioned workshops and professional development.
Right. We do offer a full schedule of workshops. We're kind of on a semester schedule, and we have a 10-session core curriculum called The Work of Art: Business Skills for Artists, and that includes things like career planning and time management, and then other real nuts and bolts sessions on financial management and tax preparation, legal issues, any number of things, marketing, pricing, all of the things that we kind of think together are what the skills you need to be able to make a living as an artist and as a small business owner. One of the other services that Springboard is pretty well known for is the one-on-one consulting. So you can come into the office and meet with a staff person and have an hour-long consultation around career planning or marketing your work, again, pricing, professional presentation, any of those kind of career development issues. And you can do that in-house with one of our staff members, or we also have a roster of practicing artists in a variety of disciplines that are also available to do the one-on-one consultations. So those are kind of the primary professional development services we offer, and then we have a variety of other programs. We run a micro-lending program called the Artist Loan Fund. We have a small grant program that's an emergency grant program for artists who've had a career-threatening emergency, so fire, theft, natural disaster, healthcare emergency. We do a lot of legal referrals. We're the Minnesota chapter of Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, which is kind of a national network of attorneys who are interested in working with individual artists and arts organizations on legal issues. And then we have a lot of web-based services also. So we have a popular job book, an internship book, and a Minnesota Artist Resource Guide that's searchable for all kinds of artist-friendly resources, whether they're healthcare or childcare or loans or grants or any of those kinds of things.
So all the sorts of support and services that artists would need or would be very useful for them to work and to be able to make a living out of being an artist.
Yeah, the services are all focused on the business side of being an artist. It's very important to us at Springboard that we never get into the aesthetics of people's work. So whether or not your art is good is not a question that we'll answer for you, but we can help you do the marketing, we can help you with grant writing, with applying for loans, with building the business part of it.
And one of the services that I was surprised that you offer is the health aspect, the health and social services. For instance, there's the Healthcare for Artists program that you have. I think it's called AH.
Yes, AH, Artist Access to Healthcare.
Is it like AH?
Yeah, say AH. Yeah, we did some research a few years ago with Minnesota Citizens for the Arts, focusing on artists and economic development and finding out what things people needed. And through that research discovered that in the state of Minnesota, artists are twice as likely to go without health insurance as the general population. And that was a real clear indicator, as well as all the anecdotal evidence that we had to us that that was an area we needed to focus on. So we actually have a number of healthcare programs. We have an online healthcare guide for individual artists. And then the Artist Access to Healthcare program, which is a partnership with Neighborhood Involvement Program, which is a community clinic in Uptown. And we provide vouchers for artists to go to the clinic and get the services at an even reduced cost. And it's a fabulous clinic. It has full medical and dental and mental health. Just a really great resource that we want to make sure people know about. We've had an annual health fair for 3 years now with tables and screenings. We just did a free screening event with the NIP Community Clinic again this fall, where artists got a full battery of health screenings and immunizations and flu shot and all kinds of tests that they could choose from, which was all free. And right now, we're really excited to be working with a physician who is looking at starting a practice specifically focused on individual artists that would be a retainer-only model of care, so people would pay a monthly fee instead of needing to have comprehensive health insurance.
Well, that's fantastic. And those sorts of services sound wonderful, but it takes, I'm sure, money to support it.
Yes.
Tell me about that, the funding and support levels. You mentioned a concern with the state constitutional amendment and
Sure.
funding sources, and particularly how the economy has been affected or affecting that, and how that all ties into
Sure. Springboard is a nonprofit organization, and so we are funded primarily by grants and individual contributions, although we do charge small fees for some of our programs, so we have some earned income. So that's always a challenge for every nonprofit to raise the money. We could always do more with more. And certainly, starting over the summer and into the fall, there have been a lot of arts organizations especially, and social service organizations that have really been struggling because of the loss of some of the large funders in town and endowments that have been dipping at foundations. As I was saying before, we've had this fall during the election this amazing kind of outpouring of support for the arts and the environment, and people in Minnesota voted to have funds constitutionally dedicated to the arts and culture, which is amazing and it's unique.
And it's important.
Yes,
too.
yeah.
But then again, with particular programs, you're worried about which particular programs might survive.
Right, and especially since we've just passed that constitutional amendment, there's some concern now that there will be big budget cuts at the State Arts Board and the Regional Arts Councils before that money from the amendment is actually available, which may not be for a couple years. So if the State Arts Board or Regional Arts Councils sustain a big budget cut in this legislative session, that could create a big funding gap for organizations that are really depending on that money.
And I would love to talk about this further, but our time is wrapping up here. How would someone who's interested in either as an artist or wanting to support artists, how would they get involved?
Well, they can come to our website, springboardforthearts.org, and contact any one of us if there are ways that they're interested in supporting individual artists. We work with a lot of volunteers. If you're interested in helping out in the office or talking or working with individual artists, helping out with workshops. There are a lot of great resources like mnartists.org is another great resource if you're interested in connecting with individual artists and seeing their work. And I just encourage people to support programs and events that really get to the heart of the individual artist community, things like the Art Crawl here in Lower Town St. Paul and events like that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.